Hey everyone, it's Selwen here, and today I'm here to answer what is Anthem, the demo. Now, Anthem's recent demo failed to impress many people, to say the least, but today I just wanted to give my 2 cents on the game, but obviously I'll go far more in depth once we finally get our hands on a full product. So I won't judge it too hard here, instead just have a little discussion as to why I think Anthem failed to captivate people and its good and bad sides. That said, it's been stated that the demo is nothing like the real game, so what's the point on any of this in the end, right? But anyway, let's take that statement with a grain of salt and talk about what was presented to us, besides what was 100% confirmed, which was difficulty and economy being entirely different. So first, all the ever so popular issues like the infinite loading screens that I was a victim of, not being able to log in, mobs disappearing in front of you, and all this sort of crap. Personally, I didn't care because I was enjoying myself in Resident Evil 2, but yeah, what happened with the demo launch was insane to say the least, and a real slap in the face for the people that specifically pre-ordered the game or subscribed to Origin Access just for the demo. And think about it, this was the VIP demo, not the open demo, and not the real launch. So imagine the amount of people logging in next week. So let's hope they get that stuff sorted and this was treated as a sort of stress test. I guess we'll see what will happen with the set free demo in the next week. Oh boy. Anyway, besides that, Destiny mixed with Warframe is what's been going around to describe Anthem, and I think there's some merit to that. The game very much has that Destiny feel whilst having that mobility and fast-paced style of Warframe. Now, I don't want to draw many comparisons, I want to analyze and talk about this demo as it is, as the game that it is, and what was offered for us to play. So the first impressions I got from the game the minute I got in and saw the hub was that, damn, this looks beautiful, but also pretty soulless, just window dressing basically. Now, in fairness to the game, a lot of these locations were locked off because of the demo, so I will hold my criticism towards that, but again, first impressions matter. After that, we start by talking to this character to send us on the side mission. So I was like, alright, contrary to Warframe and even Destiny, we actually get some in-game cutscenes telling us a bit more about the world, story, giving some personality to characters, albeit felt a little bit forced to be likable, the character that is. It didn't have that natural feel like, yeah, like this guy. It felt more like they are trying too hard to make you like this character. Nevertheless, we are sent off to do a mission, or expedition, as it's called here. Now here we get javelins, right? These pretty badass suits that look amazing, except for those goddamn chicken legs. But let's just focus on the top, on the suit, alright? They look amazing, and as I got to the expedition, we get even more awesomeness in that regard. The game looks beautiful. I mean, the Frostbite engine never ceases to amaze. The environments, the enemies, the effects, all those technical stuff do look absolutely amazing. Sounds as well, except weirdly music didn't play when it was supposed to be played in combat, but let's call that a bug. But performance was absolutely horrible. Now I'm playing at 4K, which, alright, fine, pretty intensive, but I don't know anyone that didn't have an issue with performance. But once again, let's call that the current issue with the potential to be fixed, maybe. Now, most importantly, the gameplay. Playing as the Ranger Javelin, which is labeled as the Jack of all trades Javelin, the balanced type of class, was pretty standard. Shoot things, throw grenades, throw this missile thing as a special power with a badass and really fun ultimate. So first feel and impressions was that this was a very simple, generic type of shooter, and nothing that would blow your mind, but the shooting felt great. The weapons felt great, they didn't felt rubbery like some other games, they had a nice impact, a good audio-visual feedback, which is what makes firing weapons in games fun, but gameplay pretty bland. Then there was the flying, which arguably is the best part about the game, and the overall verticality of the level design. Flying feels awesome. Controls on the mouse and keyboard are a bit wonky, it's a little bit better on the controller, but you get used to it. But flying like a goddamn Iron Man felt cool. I could escape enemies, I could traverse these beautiful landscapes, I could go up, I could go down, I could go underwater, I could hover in the air and shoot. Now, it didn't last for very long, it can easily overheat, which was mildly upsetting because it was the best part about the game and it felt so limited. but it did have some interesting mechanics with it, like how ice or water in general, the element, interacted with it, like flying close to water makes your javelin cooled, meaning it won't overheat. Getting frozen by enemy attacks had the same effect, which was a cool detail, or how diving makes the overheating go away, while fire, the element, had the opposite effect, overheating it immediately. So it went from this boring shooting mechanics to, okay, there's actually some depth and more to than just shooting things. There's this element sort of play that's not only applies to the flying mechanics, but to the overall combat. So now I found out this is much like Mass Effect 2 or Mass Effect 3 or even Andromeda. You can burn enemies, you can freeze them, there's lightning, there's blast damage or explosive, and there's combos, like freezing enemies, then blowing them up and combining that with your teammates' powers proved to be slightly more enjoyable, but still felt very Mass Effect-like, nothing really new or impressive, but it did add some flavor to the overall combat. Flying was still by far the most entertaining and fun thing about the game so far. This then leads to enemies. Now, enemies had a pretty decent variety, and of course on live is probably gonna have even more, and their AI is not the best thing in the world. There was a couple of issues with it, like not attacking at times, while other times one-shotting you, so there was some inconsistencies. But the biggest problem for me was how bullet spongy they could be on hard difficulty. Now, the regular enemies were alright, not too spongy, but when it came to tougher mobs or bosses, their HP pools were just way too big, inducing that feeling of, well, boredom, and you just stand there and you shoot it over and over, just waiting for that bar to slowly reaches its end. Now, when that happens, you usually have other weaker mobs around to at least have something else to kill and actually drop ammo and health packs, because your health does not regenerate without picking up these items. Your shield does, but not your HP. And you get some satisfaction by killing those mindless mobs around the tough boss or the tough mob or the boss. But overall, I didn't really like how bullet spongy some enemies could be. Now, as for the objectives, what was your goal in this expedition or mission, whatever? Well, was also not very inspiring. Missions pretty much involved go here, kill enemies, go here, protect and horde mode, go here, kill enemies and pick up an item and turn it in. Now, that's fine if the combat and the rest of the game is fun, but so far I was not bored, but not having a time of my life either. And once again, we come back to was alright. But what about the loot, you say? That's the main goal of these type of games, is it not? Well, yeah. Loot worked a little bit weird than I was expecting, as it's not real time. So loot can drop off any enemy. There's variety of qualities, uncommon, common, rare, and so on, but when you pick it up, you just know the quality, nothing else. Only at the end of the mission is when it's revealed to you, which personally, I don't like that system. I prefer knowing the moment I pick it up, because not only gives you this moment of, oh shit, look at that weapon I just got, so it gives you this extra drive to finish the enemies in the mission to equip it. And here that didn't exist, was just, oh cool, rare, but was just a pretty colored item I picked up. So that extra layer of RNG sort of, I didn't really appreciate, but alright, fine, once the mission ended and seeing all the loot was still pretty satisfying, although not as satisfying as it could be, at least for me. Then what about customization? Well, this was one of the highlights for sure, like the flying, there's tons of it. From every piece of your javelin's armor, like helmets, legs, chest, gloves, to a variety of colors and materials, vinyls, emotes, wear states, so it was cool. You can add a lot of personality to your own javelin. That said, this is probably the area that will be heavily monetized because the demo does not reflect the real game, so yeah, we have no idea of how we will be able to customize your javelin without paying anything, and that's one of my biggest worries towards the game, because EA. Other potential monetization I saw was consumables. So before going on to a mission, you can invite friends, because remember, this is mostly a co-op type of game set in this pseudo MMO world, but you can play solo if you wish. But I digress. You can equip consumables before going on a mission, just as you are inviting friends and stuff. And a few examples was like better shields for the duration of the mission, or higher HP, a little bit more damage. Now, I can see this having consumables on the store, such as extra XP gain, maybe extra chance on loot. I mean, That will be nearing the line of pay to win, and I could totally see this microtransaction exist due to, well, one simple fact, EA, but we shall see. Now back to customization. Besides those cosmetics, we have weapons and other types of equipment. Now you can use two weapons at the same time, and it's what you could expect: pistols, assault rifles, snipers, shotguns, and there's a big variety of them, both visually and how they work. There's also grenades type of equipment, which can change a normal grenade to a freeze type of grenade or a fire grenade. Again, elements play that you can play into those combo like moves during the combat. The same is applied to weapons, by the way. They can include elements or affixes. Your ultimates can also change and is based on equipment like grenades. They can have some elements based to it, or you can change entirely. Not for all javelins, that is. There's also a support type of utility item like placing a shield on the ground to protect yourself and teammates, and there's a variety of them. An armor slot called components to improve your armor. It doesn't change how it looks because that's the cosmetic side of things in the appearance tab, but will improve your shield or HP. So I was like, okay, customization gearing is pretty okay. Again, nothing out of this world. It felt very Mass Effect, but good enough. There's also crafting, which seemed pretty basic, like salvaging gear that you don't want, or the specific items around the world that can grant some crafting materials, but was quite limited on the demo, so not much to say here. Then I was able to choose my javelin at level 12, which basically is the classes in the game, and I believe at max level you'll be able to play all javelins, and I think at the end of the demo they enabled all javelins for everyone. So here it gave a choice of Colossus, a very tanky javelin but slow, an interceptor, a very fast javelin, a very agile javelin with some melee attacks, and the Storm, which was my choice because it looked like the most unique out of all. Think Warlock from Destiny. It had the robotic look of a regular javelin, but also had all this tech/magic look to it, and with it you get different types of customization over the ranger, javelin, and even equipment, because now instead of a grenade you get this badass lightning strike that you send down, and instead of the missile thing you get this ice spikes sort of thing that you can fire up, much like a regular weapon, and that it can freeze enemies. So again, you can go into that combo like play. And then you can equip different gear to change those elements again. So instead of ice, it can be fire. Instead of the lightning strike, to be some other element. So now the combat started to actually be really fun. I started to grow attached to my javelin, using all these spells mixed in with my fire weapons. Felt pretty amazing. Now granted, the Storm Javelin is extremely weak. It cannot take a lot of damage, but it can also take far more advantage of the flying mechanic. Here you can hover far longer, I dare say forever, giving you a bigger vantage point. So then you could combo this up with a sniper rifle, and I would just be killing enemies from afar, and then throwing lightning strikes, breaking enemies' shields, then freezing them, using my weapon, then the ultimate, which was even cooler, the combination of all the elements in these huge blasts, tanking my FPS, but looking and feeling downright amazing. So at this point, I was actually having some fun with my class, with my javelin. I just wanted more enemies to kill because I was just having dumb fun with the game's combat. Now, that said, the rest of the game was the same. So even though I was having fun because of this cool new javelin, the bullet spongy enemies were still annoying. There was still a couple of bugs and missions were still pretty stale. So I could see myself having some fun for a while due to the nature of that javelin, but I believe would still get old after a while, because having fun with the combat and the class and all of that can only last for a set amount of time. The same can be applied if you have a group of friends. That will make it more fun, but in the end, it's not making the game any better. Besides that, I also tried the so-called free play mode, which allows you to roam the areas without any set mission. Maybe it was a demo, but the world felt empty. I found a guy fighting a player, so I helped him and got some loot. It almost felt like an MMO world, but there was nothing on it, really, just a couple of mobs, a couple of players flying around. I guess it could be a nice, chill mode to hang out, kill some mobs, gather some materials for crafting, because like some plants give it. But in the demo was just completely empty. Now I believe we can get into expeditions from the free play, like physically walk to the expedition, so the mission location. Maybe that's why it felt so empty. It's a possibility, or maybe just because it's a demo. But then comes another annoying part about the game. It looks gorgeous and I wanted to explore more, but the game just kicks me off saying I cannot go there. Now, again, could be the demo, but this happens again with the missions. Going too far off from the set mission zone, it just kicks you off, which is fine, but the system is just super aggressive to the point it's really annoying that a simple detour causes you to get a loading screen back to the mission area, and that is if you didn't get the infinite loading screen, completely breaking the potential immersion and fun you could be having with the game. No fun allowed signs all around, it seems. But all in all, I think, to sum up, Anthem is alright. There is some potential for sure. I mean, I did had a lot of fun once I got the javelin I wanted, once I got him the way I wanted, and the game allowed to do that. But besides that, the future microtransactions, content, endgame content, all the bugs and survey issues, the horrible performance, boring missions again, are all the things that can break the game. Now, the positives, combat can easily be generic and boring, but it can also be really fun if you can find a javelin and a style of play that suits you, or if you play with friends. Customization is great, if not heavily monetized, let's be honest. Loot's too early to tell, but was decent. Graphics were amazing in the world, visuals, and the fact that it has this vertical type of design with a flying, which on itself is another cool aspect, but besides that, world is pretty much empty in the demo. A story has potential because it's BioWare, but I'm afraid it might force too much, like forcing you likable characters and whatnot. So it's not all bad, and to answer the initial question is simple. Anthem so far hasn't brought that thing that can bring people in. It has nothing super unique or exciting. It's just one more in the genre. Maybe this will change with Live, but in the end, is it gonna make you quit Warframe or Destiny, which are the other big games in this space? Probably not, right? Warframe is far more polished and had far more development time, and Destiny, the same really. So unless you really like flying, because it's the only big thing that Anthem does differently, I don't see anyone quitting those games over for Anthem. I, for one, don't play any of those, so if I do play Anthem, well, I kind of have to, because I want to make a video about it when it comes to Live to tell you guys what it's all about and if it's worth it or not. Microtransactions is bullshit. But yeah, I guess I could have some fun for a little bit with the right javelin, maybe reach max level and be done with it. But the negatives and the fact that it's freaking EA, it easily outweighs the positives, the small amount of positives that the game has, which is really sad because I've been a fan of BioWare up to Mass Effect 2, before they started going a bit south, and I didn't want to see them go down like this. So yeah, guys, that does it for me for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you all again soon.